before I get on to Saturday itself, let's talk a little bit about Patriotic Alternative. But it is led by someone who is a self-described Nazi sympathizer. Now, I'm described as a neo-Nazi, but in my case, I've never ever, it's not true, I've never ever described myself. In fact, I've done nothing but denounce. I think Nazism is one of the most evil, right up there with communism, one of the most evil ideologies of all time, and I have no sympathy with it whatsoever. In fact, I personally wouldn't fare very well under a regime or a government or power that was Nazi sympathizing. They seem to spend a lot of time poking at us, but that's okay. You focus on yourself. You don't focus on what other people are saying. Yeah, you focus on yourself. And I don't want to spend our time picking at or poking other groups or organizations. But that's the reason why I don't support Patriotic Alternative. There's a lot of, from what I can see, the little I know, the little I have seen, I've not known anything of them for some time. There's a great deal of anti-Semitism, things I won't support and don't support. So that's the reason for the division here. People talk about uniting all the time. You can't unite. And I'm sure they feel the same way about me. You can't unite with someone that you most profoundly have these profound disagreements with. But let me tell you something very important. Patriotic Alternative doesn't have power. What was facing us on Saturday, and I mean face to face, they do have power. They have all the political parties in their pockets. They have the press, they have the police, they have the entire establishment. That's power. So if Sam Melia happens to be standing somewhere near me, do you really think I'm going to spend my energies bickering with him? Look across and see the problem. The problem is over there facing us, literally facing us. And there were hundreds of them. It's one of the most chaotic experiences, and one I won't be having again for some time, if at all. Most chaotic experiences. It was ridiculous, actually, in how surrounded we were. And being drowned out, noisy, drowned out, something led by the local MP. The local MP who, when these migrants destroy Linton-on-Ouse, when they bring crime and disorder, when they bring rape, and if one of them decided to blow us up and kill 100 of us, that MP would only be concerned at the optics for refugees, like all of the MPs. We are in, if not unique, certainly surely rare reality where our elected politicians care far more about getting strangers from all over the world to come here for a better life than they do about us being subject to terror attacks, crime, rape. It's absolutely extraordinary. So we had this crowd led by an MP drowning out everything that we said. I'd lefties all around. Absolute chaos. And there's some ridiculous press started to say that there were ugly scenes in York. Yes, there were. Not by us. There's always ugly scenes when left-wing thugs are around. And yes, you had the masks and the black clad as well as an MP, and a load of mindless people shouting for refugees. They don't even know. They don't no idea what they're inviting. So let me address the sharing a platform with Patriotic Alternative. Look, I've never really been one for that particular game. That sharing a platform thing, that's very left-wing, guilt by association stuff. That's how, that's what they do. I mean, they've got no problem, of course, with Stop the War Coalition being in bed with all sorts of jihadi groups. That's fine. And it's fine if Jeremy Corbyn shares a platform with Hamas. That's fine. But if I share a platform with Patriotic Alternative, we're the same. First of all, it wasn't my event. I didn't organise this. I was invited to speak at it. Because I don't like to play that game, I don't ask for a detailed CV of everyone else who may be speaking. I spoke at this because I feel really, really strongly about it. And I was angry then, I was angry before, and I'm still angry about it now. When I posted on Facebook that I was going to speak at this, I said I was angry. And I am. And one of the things that's making me so angry is all this. We are so far gone beyond the optics thing. Optics to who? Who? Unite against fascism, hope not hate? Are we worried about what they might think of us? I don't like the share a platform game, but it wasn't, to be clear, a Patriotic Alternative event. It wasn't my event. I was asked to speak, so I did, because I feel really strongly about the issue. As for the megaphone, the system, the PA system that was given to me went off and on and off and on and off and on. The PA system kept going off, and I was handed a megaphone. So I used it. That's it. That's the story. I know it was Sam Melia that handed it to me, and I said thank you to, and I still say thanks. There could be a variety of things going on there. If it was deliberate to sort of get me to use a Patriotic Alternative microphone, do you know what? Part of me thinks it's actually quite clever. Another part of me thinks, apparently they've put out this thing with me using this microphone and their logo on it. It's interesting to me, and I can only be flattered, and we wouldn't do it the other way around. So one of two things is going on. They want people to think I support them. I don't know every individual. I certainly don't hate everyone, but I've explained already what my issue is. And if they want people to imply to people that I support them, then that's interesting, isn't it? I don't. All anyone has to do is ask me, and I'll say I don't. No more than they support me. But I wouldn't do it in reverse. I've got to be honest. I wouldn't. I wouldn't take a picture of Mark Collette with a footprint. So it's interesting. But we are just gone so far beyond this now. I watched on social media, my own social media, the social media from North Yorkshire Police, who the day before put out a post talking about how they are to protect our right to free speech and all the rest of it. And then, for some inexplicable reason, at the end of their post, they quoted a councillor talking about how everyone has a right to free speech, but if you're hate, then we don't want you in York. So basically, everyone knows it. Everyone has a right to free speech as long as they agree with us and say what we want them to say. Now, why did the police put that at the end of their statement about this? A councillor, having said all the things you're supposed to say about free speech, stick this hate thing in at the end of it. So we've got MP leading this mob. We have police who have given the game away in their own post as to where their allegiances lie, as if we didn't know already. We have, most importantly, an absolute disaster looming. And I think, if anyone expected me, when Sam Melia handed me that megaphone, if anyone expects me to turn around and say, no, I'm not, get away from me, you, and start picking a fight with him when I'm facing this big sea of this, and this, by the way, has power, then they're wrong. I'm not going to do that. But on to the most important thing of all is look what we're facing. More boats coming in this morning. People spreading all over the country. Nowhere is going to be left untouched by this. And it is going to bring a lot of crime and of terrorism. Why aren't there tens of thousands of people standing against this? It's hard to know the answer to that question. It really is. They're afraid is probably a nutshell. It's it in a nutshell. Afraid of a variety of things. Afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of falling out with family, afraid of social ostracism of the most incredible scale, afraid of even of criminal charges. The majority of the country, and the thing is, this nasty, thuggish, masked left, and the frilly, multicolored, flower in the hair type are all their views are so unpopular among normal people. But because they are such bullies, and because they have the establishment, the entire establishment on their side, they are so arrogant that they think that we aren't coming out in tens of thousands because we agree with them. They think the public agrees with them, when the opposite is true. But they think that because they dominate. Recent election results have shown us, and this isn't about us as a party, no small party is doing well at the polls, and certainly no party who objects to this mass immigration is doing anything at the polls. And that's not because people don't agree with us. It's because people are not voting. So people are not turning up to protest, people are not voting. What's happened is people have just said, you know what? No point. It's done. Country's done. We have a Tory government that came to government on the promise of controlling immigration, and look, we may as well have the Socialist Worker Party in Downing Street. Same thing. And people have just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get on with my life now. What will be, will be. Britain is the Britain we knew, the Britain that we all want to get back to, sanity. A lot of people just think, it's gone. It's gone. So let's make the most of what we have. And in so many ways, who can blame them? So maybe, and the only projection I think you can make, and the conclusion you can come to, is that it's going to have to get a lot worse before people make a stand. It's a very, very, it's a very dark time. And like I said, boats keep coming in. More and more Linton-on-Ouses will happen. And people clearly need to see up close what we've been talking about all this time. That in 2023, it'll be 18 years I've been doing this. 18 years since I first started campaigning against Sharia law. In that time, I personally have been shunned, attacked, smeared. And it gets worse. It gets very tough, as anyone who's public face for this can tell you. It's very, very tough to take when all you're trying to do is tell the truth. 18 years. And in that 18 years, it is dramatically worse now than it was then. Dramatically. The immigration that we're talking about has exploded. We've had in the last 18 years so many terror attacks. The Rotherham style atrocities continue unabated. And the thing that makes it so much worse is we've lost the censorship has quadrupled since then in that 18 years. But if the borders are open now, like I wouldn't have thought in my worst nightmares 18 years ago that the borders would be quite as bad as they are now. The militant, violent left is far more emboldened now than it was back then. I used to be able to give a speech back then. But what can we do? What can we do but carry on? I have to just quickly answer Alan in the comments. Try getting into this country if you are not Muslim. It's bloody difficult. No, I agree, but the borders are open. The people who are coming in are Muslims. And so the numbers of people who have no understanding of a Western society and the numbers coming now are mind-blowing, even compared to what they were 18 years ago. So I'm agreeing with you. And that's the frightening part.